doing? I hope you're well. I'm Deanna and welcome to my channel. Today I am starting another reading vlog, and this time it is for the Cliterature Readathon, which is taking place from Monday the 5th of August to the 11th of August, and this is hosted by the wonderful Steph from Steph Loves. So I am very excited. She has created this wonderful bingo board in terms of prompts, and I thought to start off I would just let you know what's on my TBR. I very much doubt that I'm going to get through everything on this list, but I like creating TBRs and I wanted to share with you what I picked and what I would read. So first off, we've got Spring, which is supposed to be a book which gives spring vibes, and this was purely based off Steph's suggestion. I have put Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert for this prompt. I completely adore Talia Hibbert, and it is criminal that I have yet to pick up this book. All I know is that we're following Chloe Brown, who is chronically ill, and she ends up in an accident and comes up with a list of things to do to get a life, and ropes in her neighbor, who is this like tattooed motorbike riding gruff guy named Red, to help her complete her list, and they fall in love. So yeah, possibly set in the spring, don't know, but love Talia Hibbert and really need to get to this series. Then we have POC author, and for this one I am linking it in with my needing to read sequels, and I'm going to put Primal Mirror by Nalini Singh. This is the most recent addition to the Side Changeling series, and I have been dying to read it. So yes, going with that for that one. Next is a new to you trope, and this was hard. I really struggled to pick something for this, but ultimately I am going with Tainted Love by LJ Sky, which is a step-sibling romance, and he's a rock star. And I don't think I've read a step-sibling romance, so that is my new to me trope. Next up for the seasonal prompts, we have Summer. And for this one, I'm going with an art copy, which is One Summer Night by Melissa Natz. I really should have read this already. It follows a 38-year-old woman named Elsie White, and I love the fact that this has an older heroine. She doesn't believe in happy endings because her husband of 19 years surprises her with an anniversary gift that is just full of all his dreams and wants. And she really sees the writings on the wall and decides to end it. So she sets off to rediscover who she is and what makes her happy, and she ends up at a Ren fair and was very surprised to realize that her happiness comes in the form of a medieval knight, and it sounds like a lot of fun, so excited for that one. Next up was poll pick, so I put up this poll on the Cliterature Discord, and I had 5 options because I was greedy and I couldn't narrow it down. So my options were Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, His Treasure by Emily Rossi, Poison Roses by Tate James and Jamie Eve, Her Feral Beast by E.P. Barley, and Stolen by the Wolves by Link Robinson. And Lights Out by Nevessa Allen won. This popped off on Bookish Spaces earlier this year, and I'm pretty sure it is a dark white shoes romance which has masked men, and everyone loved it. I don't know if it's, I could be lying about the white shoes, but it is a dark white I keep saying white shoes. I just really want it to be white shoes. It is a dark rom-com with a stalker. So I want to know why everyone loves it. Also, dark rom-coms seem to be a thing, and I'd like to get involved. Then we have short read, and for this one I've picked A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall, which is a little novella that she's got in her Unraveling Monsters universe. I believe this is a romance between Allie's mum, who is the heroine in the first book, and Brett, who is a Australian werewolf shifter, and it is set in New Zealand, and it features a Maori woman falling in love with an Australian wolf shifter, and it's set in a small town, and I just really love the sound of those vibes. So very excited. And we also do have older characters as well, so I believe they're in their 40s, 50s, I don't know, but I'm excited to get to that one. Then we have LGBT romance, and I've gone with one that I own, which is Without You by Marley Valentine. I just know that this is supposed to be quite emotional and quite angsty, I believe. It says, a tragedy brought us together, but something stronger made me want to stay. So we've got Julian, who is the boy next door, and Deacon's brother's best friend. It looks like Julian goes away and Deacon is kind of stuck where he is, wanting a better life until things change when the brother passes away and Julian comes back. And I think it is through their grief that they find love. And yeah, I've heard wonderful things about Marley Valentine, and this was one of the books that I got from the First Chapter Books Aussie Author of the Month box, so I probably should read one of those. And what a better place to start. Then we have Pink or Red on the cover, and again, sticking with my sequels, I'm gonna go with Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross, and this is the 4th book in the Stay a Spell series, where we're basically set in New Orleans. We've got these group of sisters who are all finding their happily ever after. So we are following Livy, who is like the social media savant of this group. She has the gift of persuasion, and it is her romance with a Grimm. And we don't really know much about the Grimms in this story, so we've had 2 werewolves and a vampire, so excited to get a different supernatural being. Then we have Spinner Wheel. I will put the Spinner Wheel on here, but I figured what a perfect way to get another sequel on the list, since I did squeeze in some non-sequels. So let's bring up the Wheel of Sequels. Yes! Okay, this is thrilling and very exciting and very short, which is going to be so good. So this is Devotion by Kayla Rain and Megan. It is a Make Games War novella. I believe it takes place after the Make Games War, definitely after the Make Games Pestilence, maybe somewhere in between the Make Games Death. So I have been sorely missing this world since finishing the Make Games Death, so I'm very excited to dive back in and see what's happening with Sunday and her guys. So yes, thank you, Wheel of Sequels. I really appreciate you. The next prompt is new release. So I figured I would pick the newest arc that hit my inbox, and I am going with My Pucking Mate by Izzy Elliott, which is a paranormal hockey romance. That's all I needed to see. It sounded wonderful. We are following Lyra Adams, who's lost her parents months before starting college, so she's got this exciting new chapter of her life which is being really diminished by her grief. She's grown up traveling the world with her parents, who were a photographer and a journalist, and they were homeschooling her, so she's a little awkward and anxious, to be expected, but she's vowed to have the best college experience that one has ever had. And she never planned for him, Roman, who has lived through his father's darkness and has rebuilt the king's werewolf army and is learning to play professional hockey. So that sounds like a fun mix, and it is a cute cover, and I'm excited to read from a new author. We have Autumn, which is the next prompt, and I've decided to go with Halloween vibes, because not in my autumn, but all vibes equals Halloween in the Northern Hemisphere, so I'm gonna go with that. And I am going to pick another arc, A Dance Macabre by Nomi Loud, and the reason I applied for this was because it's a enemies to lovers forbidden romance with a magical realism twist, and she had mentioned that it kind of had Morticia Adams vibes. So I was like, yes please, that sounds amazing. So I am excited to get to that one. Looks like we've got kind of like 6 bloodlines, 6 families, so we might have some like mafia, crimey elements to that. So that sounds like a wonderful time. And then we have Steph Rec, and I've pulled A Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This is another dark rom-com, so I really want to see what this is all about. And it is 2 serial killers meet each other after going after the same target, and love ensues. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was saying, because my camera rudely yelled at me and then died because it ran out of battery. But anyway, dark rom-coms seem to be a thing. 2 things in my brain that I'm not sure go together, but I'm excited to see what this one's all about. And then the last prompt is Winter, and another one which I pulled from Steph's recommendations, which I will link below, is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. Another book that I cannot believe I haven't read. It has been on my physical TBR for ages, and I know it is an absolute darling of booktube, Bookstagram, and this follows Carla Fletcher, who ends up going to her estranged father after finding out that he is dying, and attempts to kind of fix their estranged relationship. She braves this tiny town with its weird wildlife, its odd, you know, I think it's quite north in Alaska, so it's got odd lighting, for lack of a better word. Like, it's sunny all the time and then it's nighttime all the time, and ends up having this enemies to lovers antagonist relationship with Jonah, who has grown up there his whole life. And I get the vibe that he thinks she's nothing but a city girl and she's going to be out the door the minute she can. So yeah, everyone loves this book. In the theme of these prompts I've picked, I want to know why everyone loves this book. These are the books on my TBR. I will check in throughout the week to let you know my thoughts. You'll be able to tune in to see how many of these I read, if I read these, if I pick other things, and how many prompts I tick off. But I will check in with you when the readathon starts and give you my thoughts on the first book I've picked up. Bye for now. Hey, I am officially the worst at updating this vlog. I had every intention to do a little daily update about what I've been reading and loving for the Cliterature Readathon, and it's now Thursday and this is the first update you're getting from me, so not a great week. Yeah, work is what it is, but I've been having really bad pain flare-ups, which I haven't had in a while, which is really pissing me off, so been a bit sick. But let's talk about books and what I've read. So also, sidebar, I bought this dress recently and it is the cutest thing I think I own, and I love this dress and I would like to be buried in it, and we have these cute little dragons. So that's the best update I've got for you, is that I bought this dress and I'm obsessed. So I finished 3 prompts. One of them was a self-care activity, and I did take a mental health day on Tuesday because I was feeling particularly crappy, but I also got some journaling done. I got my August reading journal pages set up, so I love doing my reading journal myself. It's nothing fancy. I do like a kind of scrapbooking style, but I wanted to buy a reading journal, but I found that none of the reading journals I had enough review pages, and also didn't have enough space on the review pages because I didn't want like quotes or anything. I'll show you in the flip through what one of my review pages looks like. It's very much just like photo, data, word vomit, and it works for me. So I will leave some b-roll with a flip through of what they look like. And then the first book I picked up for this readathon was for a short read, which was A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall. Now, I freaking love Allegra Hall. I love the paranormal world that she's created, where we've got basically a small town paranormal romance set in New Zealand, which is just chef's kiss. It's beautiful. And in this world, there has been an event that happened a couple of years ago where the veil between the human world and the supernatural world has been lifted. So the world is in this kind of like tense adjustment period as it gets used to the idea that monsters are real. And this is a novella that she wrote for, I think, some anthology, but has since published it. I am very thankfully part of Allegra's ARC team, so I will have a full review coming and I will link that one below. But this was just an adorable little novella which takes place after A Wolf in the Garden, and it actually follows Ellie's mum, Amia, and she is basically not looking for any kind of love or commitment. She's happy to see her daughter happy. She wants to be there for her aging father and make sure he's got what he needs. But at Ellie's wedding, she catches eyes with a Australian wolf shifter named Brett, and it is their romance. They almost have this moment, but then Brett gets called away at the wedding to take care of his nephew, who had gotten into the beers and is now legless, drunk, essentially shit-faced. I don't know what other terminology you want me to use. And what I love about this is that even though it's 92 pages, you can feel the connection between Amia and Brett, and each kind of section is broken up into months. So Brett, he was born and raised in Australia, and he has moved to New Zealand to be with his daughter because his baby mama was New Zealand and they had a summer fling while she was over in Australia and decided to move back home. So he moved with her, and he pretty much spends every weekend with her, which I just thought was the sweetest. And again, I'm not normally one for single dads and kids in books, but Brett was the exception. And yeah, it's broken up into each month. So some months it might be them just texting each other that they can't see each other. And I love this. I love that we have both characters are a mature age. I think Amia's definitely in her early 50s. I think Brett is in around the same age, and they have different needs or different feelings about relationships. Amiya is definitely, after what happened with Ellie's dad, definitely shut off. She hasn't kind of put herself out there in a while, and there is this fear of change and being scared of opening herself up to someone like Brett, and he is just this absolutely sweet, adorable golden retriever, is a werewolf, and it's just so good. And I love that we really see Amiya kind of struggling with the unveiling and the fact that someone was after her daughter and she doesn't know if it's a completely safe place, but also just little things like worrying about offending different supernatural creatures because, you know, we're not aware of what the correct terminology is. So I just thought it was super real, and I just loved it. I loved that she was the one who made the grand gesture because she was the one who was scared and called off their relationship, and it was so good. And again, love the New Zealand small town setting, love the infusion of the Maori culture, and yeah, I completely loved it. And then I finished and read Primal Mirror by my queen, Nalini Singh, and this is the 7th book in the Psy Changeling Trinity, and it is the 21st, 22nd, 20-something book in the overall Psy Changeling universe. And I won't tell you too much about this book because it is spoilers galore, but I just love being back in this world. And this one in particular, we're with the, who was it? We're with the leopards. Dark Rain? No. Dark Rain leopards? No, I don't think it's dark. It's Dark River. We're with the Rainfire leopards. And we did meet Remy and the Rainfire pack, back when we were doing the Psy books, like around the Arrow books. So Shield of Winter, Shards of Hope, because he's really close friends with the alpha of the Arrows. And yeah, we have Auden Scott, who is the daughter of two of the big bads that have happened, and she is dealing with this psychological breakdown. She's having moments where she can't remember doing things. She is having a lot of like blackouts, but then is able to see footage of herself like having a business negotiation, and there's this kind of worry that there is this other person in her that is taking over, and she ends up seeking help from the Rainfire pack. And I just love being back in this world. It's like putting on a comfy cardigan and a blanket at the end of the day. I just want to go back and start the reread. And maybe next year I will commit to doing one Psy Changing book a month just to like, you know, get my fix. And I loved Remy. He created a relatively new pack, and he's really struggling with the fact that he has like all this love to give, but he's terrified of like abandonment and things like that, that he's worried that as a leader and as an alpha, he's going to stifle his pack by not giving them the chance to, you know, spread their wings or empower them to do stuff. And he's worried he's going to like hold on too tight because he's lost his mum at a young age. His dad was an absent father and wanted nothing to do to him. So all that kind of trauma is there. And I'm hoping we get some more from this pack, because we've had some like lesser characters from the Dark River pack. They have migrated to this pack. We have a very sexy, very suave tiger shifter. And like always, the way this book has set up the world, even though the pack, I think they're in like the Smoky Mountains. Smoky Mountains, does it? I think they're in the Rockies. The Smoky Mountains. Geography, who? And they're quite insular, being a changeling pack who is quite newly formed, and they've taken over some lands. At the start of each chapter, we get like, whether it's communication from the changeling organization, or we've got these kind of like updates from the new Psy Council. Anyway, giving us an update on what's happening with the Psynet, because the Psynet is dying and the Psynet is breaking, and we're really at the 11th hour trying to come up with a way to save it, and in turn save millions of people's lives who these Psy have to be connected to the net as like to get a psychic feedback to survive. And just that's all happening like in this big macro plot, and that's what's happening in the day-to-day lives. But we're really focusing in on Auden trying to figure out who she is, what's happening to her, and to protect her family with the help of Remy's pack. And then the end and what happens and how that feeds into the overall macro plot is just so exciting, and I cannot wait for the next book. I also loved being back with characters we haven't seen in a very long time. So as I said, we've got a lot of the Arrows pop in and out, which we really haven't seen any of the Arrows much in the Trinity. Definitely not in the last few books. Definitely not. So yeah, completely adored it. And then I immediately changed my TBR because I thought I'd be further along in a book than I was. So for new release, I've swapped out whatever book I had and put in Blood So Brutal by Emily Blackwood. This is the sequel to Wings So Wicked, which follows Hunter, who has been trained to be a vampire assassin and is pretty good at it. She has a weird, complicated relationship with the man who adopted her, and he has sent her to this school and is essentially going to go through these trials to get to the Golden City. And the Golden City is supposed to be this like perfect, brilliant, utopic society where the angels and the archangels live and everyone's got free-flowing magic and it's supposed to be peaceful and all that stuff. And it is this kind of like Hunger Games trials and tribulation to get there. While there, she's basically told to keep her head down, not trust anybody. While there, she kind of meets some friends, and in this world, I should say, we have fae, vampires, and angels. Yeah. And then she has this kind of bantery, antagonistic, frenemies to more relationship with a fallen angel named Wolf. And the way Wings So Wicked ended, like the audacity of that book to just end on the line it did, was wild. So this is, I believe this is a duology, but so far, loving it, loving being back with these characters. You can really tell from Wolf's perspective that he is a man who fell hard and fast, but just due to, just due to his family and things that he's been forced to do, it really comes across to Hunter that he's been playing her the whole time. And it's interesting that she's very much determined to go back. So they went to like enemies, they went to lovers, we're now back to enemies. She's very much determined to stay there and thinks that he just used her to get what his family wanted. And now we see from his point of view, he was unexpectedly fallen hard and fast for her, and he is going to do whatever he can and has already made some very big sacrifices. Looking at you, last line of the first book, and still she doesn't believe him because she thinks it's this big ploy. But anyway, I'm very excited to continue on with that. So that's my new release. And then I am probably going to start tonight because I do have a review to write. I'm doing a massive review blitz at the minute, so which has been good. It's making me feel less pressured, and also I'm enjoying the fact that I'm getting back into a good routine with writing and posting reviews, and I'm just very thankful to all the authors who've sent me review copies. So I want to, you know, do it justice and give them all the love. In particular, there is one of my favorite books of the year I've got to write tonight, which will be easy because I'm just going to gush about it and then edit it and then post it. But in the midst of that, I probably am gonna start my pick for Pink or Red on the Cover, which is Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross. I'm just in the mood for, I guess, paranormal. It's always very comforting, and I really love this witchy family, this world. They're in New Orleans, I'm pretty sure. And this one's interesting because this is going to follow Livy Savoy, and she is the witch who is kind of their marketing expert. She has this power of persuasion. From memory, she had applied for the competition, maybe not a competition, she was applying for this grant or this internship, and it's turned out to be a competition. And for the final hurdle, or for the final exam, I don't know what you want to say, the final task before the grant is awarded, she has to team up with the Grim Reaper named Gareth, and they have been antagonistic from the get-go. I think it's like kind of a slight miscommunication, like from memory from one of the earlier books where we've had Livy come in as like this rage this just pure rage tornado, for lack of a better word, just burst into this sister's house, just raged and ranted at them, and then just disappeared. He made some comment about how you're not allowed to use your gifts to get ahead, and so she's assuming that he thinks that she's not good at her job or not deserving of everything. And we don't know. We don't actually know a lot about the Grims in this world. The Grim Reapers, they're like very secretive. They've got their fingers in all the pies. They're across information seems to be their currency, and it is a very red cover, and it's going to be another audio pick. So I am excited to start that one. Hopefully we can get some reading done. I do need to film this week's video and then also edit this week's video. Tomorrow it's the end of the busy period at work, so we're having some after work drinks, which will be nice. And then on Saturday I'm also getting my next session for my tattoo, so I should get a lot of reading done, if not a lot of updates done. But yeah, I will catch you soon and see ya. Hello, I'm here to close off this vlog, which I admittedly didn't do a great job at. So I think last I checked in, I just finished Primal Mirror by Nalini Singh, which is the most recent Side Changeling edition, which I loved. I let you know that I changed plans and changed prompts almost immediately, and I was reading Blood So Brutal by Emily Blackwood. Didn't finish that. In fact, readathon's over, still haven't finished that. Still am very much enjoying it, so you'll hear about it in my wrap up for sure. And then I did the treat yourself, so I went and got tattooed. Perfect weekend to have a plan, so hence why I didn't check in as much. Saturday was a 9-hour tattoo session, and then Sunday I spent all day editing, proofing, filming, doing all the stuff and things to post my wrap up. So the tattoo is the treat yourself. I'm pretty sure I didn't get a single bingo. While I was getting tattooed, I changed my LGBTQIA+ read, and I picked up The Scent of Us Part 2 by, sorry, I kicked you accidentally, so you may have moved, Ileana Lee. I have been dying to get back into this Amigaverse since I finished up The Scent of Us Part 1. So in this one we are following a girl named Juno, and she was essentially sold into a horrific bond by her father to pay off a gambling debt. So she was completely abused, mistreated, all of the above, but was able to find a way out and escape these alphas. And then she moved interstate, and the fun thing about this, I should say, is that it's set in Melbourne. So she was in Sydney, so she came to Melbourne, and she was part of this bond dissolution project. So it's a new research and medicine practice where Amigas can dissolve their bonds, especially for those who have been mistreated. So yeah, I loved being back with this pack. Juno is full of fire, and there is a whole builder pack element to this, so all parties are now locked in. And I particularly enjoyed Ari taking the time to apologize as best he can for lashing out at Juno in the first book for his own trauma and own assumptions based on some Omegas who were sent matched. And what happens with Isaac and Juno was fabulous. How we wrap up the plot, that is fabulous, and we get a little sneak peek into the next book. So yeah, completely adored this. So glad I read it. When you're getting tattooed, you've got a lot of time to do nothing but lie there or sit there. So I completed that one during my tattoo session. I then picked up an audiobook, and I picked up Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross. This was for the pink or red on the cover, and this is so delightful. I forget just how much I love the Stay a Spell series. So the series is set in New Orleans, and we've got supernaturals. So we're following the Savoy sisters, who are witches, and each witch gets their own book. And in this one we're following Livy, who is an influencer. So, well, she does work in marketing, but her power is like of persuasion, and she can cast her influence over people. And she is currently working on a contest for this big marketing firm, and the winner will get money, I think, and prestige, that you've got the backing of this big company. However, she is been butting heads with a Grimm. So in this world we've got werewolves, witches, vampires, and Grimms, who are like these Grim Reapers. We don't really know much about them at this stage, and his name's Gareth Blackwater, and they get off on the wrong foot almost immediately when he, quite cold, reserved, all that jazz, but he implies that Livy only got this far in the competition because she was using her witchy gifts, and that really pissed her off. And I don't blame her, that would piss me off too. But they are, in the final round, are forced to work together in a group of 3. So it's Livy, Gareth, and another warlock, and they've got to work on a supernatural cause. So Livy wants to work on promoting like the acceptance of werewolves, and therefore promote her sister's tattoos, because her sister's been able to find a way to charm tattoos so that the magic is there. So she's been using that to calm the rage of the wolves, and therefore, you know, they should be given the rights that the other supernatural creatures have. And then Gareth wants them to do a campaign on orphaned supernatural children, and how that some orphan children, if there's not enough supernatural foster carers and homes and things like that, end up in the human system, and that's a bad thing. So they go with that option, and it's their kind of forced proximity relationship. We learn a lot about the Grimms. Now, if you like the arrows from the Side Changeling universe, in particular, if you like Judd, I think you're gonna love Garrett. He gives off arrow vibes. The Grimm kind of have these demonic monsters, but they've got like telekinetic power, they have some other stuff and things which I won't spoil because, you know, this is the 5th book in the series. Even though they're all standalones, there's a kind of line through. And yeah, the steamy scenes are excellent. The humor is there. Again, I just love this world. We do have some triggering things around a man in power wanting to abuse said power and is a raging sexist misogynist, and Livy unfortunately gets trapped there. But overall, really enjoyed it. The audiobook's great. It's a dual narrator, and the guy, Aiden Snow maybe, who narrates the men's. Whew, man, that voice will do something to you. Technically didn't finish it completely within the time frame, but hey, I spent pretty much all day Sunday editing for at least 4 to 5 hours, so I'm counting this. For my spinner wheel pick, I got Devotion by Kayla Rain and Meg Ann. This is the novella for the Make Games War, which they published and put together after the Kickstarter. Speaking of the Kickstarter, it's something I backed because I'm fully obsessed and didn't know it was going to happen, but my name's in the book, so I'm assuming it is. I don't know how many other Dianas there are, so I'm gonna take it. But anyway, this, if you're in the Make Games universe, where have you been? Highly recommend you start with Obsession. But if you're here with me, this one comes out, I think, shortly. This is the first one I've read with my eyeballs and not listened to with my ears. Still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I could still hear the characters' voices in my head as I was reading this. In particular, Alec came out strong. So did Thorn, Noah for some reason. So you gotta read this one after you read the Make Games War, Death and Pestilence, okay? Don't spoil yourself. But we're back with Sunday and her guys. So it's just a nice little snapshot into seeing what Sunday, Noah, Kingston, Alec and Caleb have been up to in the off season. It's not a sports game, but while we haven't been with them, and that final little bit seems like it's going to link into the Make Games apocalypse. I'm not sure what's happening to the Make Games famine, but if it means we get one more extra series in this universe, I am down for it. So I forgot how chaotic some of these characters were. Again, Caleb is not my favorite. Out of all the guys in all the books, he's probably my least favorite. I know Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff is a ride or die for Caleb, but I just don't get the Irish priest. I really don't. Now, this series is not to be taken seriously. It is just a fun, wild ride. And in particular, there is something that happens in here which gives like full soap opera vibes. And I think they even reference like it's aware of itself, which is what I love. So yeah, was such a fun way to wrap up Cliterature Readathon, and I think it was the perfect vibe for this. So having a look, I managed to read 5 books in the week. Actually, that's not as bad as I thought. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna count that as a win. And I did 2 self-care activities. So I did some journaling when I set up my August spreads, and I got tattooed. Here is the board. As you can see, not a single bingo. But anyway, I had a lot of fun. I am very excited for the next one. I love a readathon in general, but I love these kind of like week-long ones. So I'll be excited when Steph announces the next round, which might not be till February. I think that was when the first round was. Anyway, I've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much to the wonderful Steph from Steph Loves for hosting this. And yes, in the comments, let me know which book you would choose for the prompt, a new to you trope. I'm interested. What trope is new to you? That one I really struggled with in the TBR portion of this video. Or you can leave me a let's go the double heart emoji for Cliterature Readathon. It matches the bingo board. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I'll be posting new videos every Sunday. Linked in the description box below will be any channels I've mentioned, the books I've mentioned, reviews if I have any. I will also leave links to my social media channels if you'd like to talk to me or follow me on any other corner of the internet. Anyway, that is all from me today, guys. I hope you're doing all kinds of well, and I will speak to you soon. See ya!